Hey y'all. Yes, it's me again. I'm so very happy to have a chance to chat with you about a few things, travel related and more. Um so if it's your first time here, I want to say welcome. I am so glad that you have chosen to spend some time with me. And if you are returning, welcome back, family. I am so glad that you are here. You know you're my fave. I don't have to keep saying it because you already know. You already know what it is. Okay. You know how we do. So may I continue? Okay. Anyway, yeah, so I just thought today I was going to discuss something that most travelers consider before they go anyplace. Budget. Budget. People often ask me, how have you been able to travel so many places and you seem not to have any money? So, if you want to know the answer to that, you're going to have to stick around to the end. And then I'm going to tell you how it happens, okay? Y'all might think it's crazy, but I'm going to tell you how it has happened. But let's get into the whole budget situation, all right? So, budget. It's relative. How much you should take depends on how much you want to do, how much you can afford to spend, how much is really enough, a sufficient amount for you to be able to enjoy your travel experience, right? Because I can tell you what I spend and you could be like, oh, I could never. Or I could tell this to somebody who maybe is sitting somewhere in, I don't know, Bangladesh or someplace in sub-Saharan Africa, the homeland to me, who might say like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. Like, how would I ever get that? So I just want to say the budget is relative. You're going to have to do whatever is comfortable for you. But what I have kind of, you know, looked at when I decide to go somewhere is the typical cost that might be incurred while there. So, for example, drinking bottled water. Um, in the United States, we are very fortunate that the vast majority of people have access to clean water. The vast majority, not everybody, but the vast majority. So, even with that being said, the vast majority of us still drink bottled water at some point during our day or week. You know what I mean? Like we still drink bottled water. I know that when I'm traveling, the vast majority of the time I'm going to need to drink bottled water. Now, if I'm going someplace where I know that the water is safe to drink, I may drink it. I may bring a water bottle along so that I can have that, or I can filter it or whatever. So I may do that. And I have used something called a life straw. You can get the bottle and it has the straw in it already, or you can just get the straw itself and you can put it into your water bottle and drink the water. And it gives an extra bit of filtration to the water, and that can be helpful. Okay, so I have done that, but the vast majority of places I've gone, I have budgeted to drink bottled water. So act accordingly. So when I'm looking at where I'm going, I'm often looking at how much it's going to cost me to get bottled water. In the US, bottled water is ridiculous. Don't try to buy no water at the airport, because then you're going to really know what water costs. It's outrageous. Even though they got a public water fountain someplace, when you go to the little Hudson News, I'm saying Hudson News because in the US they're like all over the place. But you go to the little shops in the airport, and a bottle of water can run you $6. $6. It's outrageous. It is just outrageous. I've never had water that should cost that much. And I'm not even talking about like Evian and Fiji and there's another one that's like really expensive. The smart water. Yeah, those I kind of expected to be a little higher. But I'm talking about regular old my favorite regular Poland Spring. Not that I'm saying advocating for any particular brand, although Poland Spring is my favorite. I have I will drink the Deer Park. I don't like Nestle. It is what it is. I don't like Nestle. Period. I don't care where it is, what continent I'm on. If I see the Nestle brand, I don't want it. But yeah, I drink the Dasani, Aquafina, whatever, whatever. I do drink all those other waters. They are just fine. But the price can be outrageous. So a person who's coming here like to New York or something, they're gonna have to budget in like what the cost of bottled water is. Even though they can drink tap water, you can't, it's not always easily accessible. So I'm looking at basic prices like the cost of water, because I'm gonna need that every day, right? I'm looking at the cost of food. How much? So if I have an Airbnb and I can cook, um, at home, at my place that I'm staying, if I can cook there, then I'm looking at what it would cost for me to, how much it would cost me to prepare a meal, like, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. And if I'm in a like a hostel where I don't have the ability to cook or something, or a hotel where I don't have those abilities, then I'm looking at, how much it's going to cost for me to eat out, right? So factor in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Although I don't typically eat 3 meals a day, usually 2 is sufficient, sometimes even 1. But I'm looking at the cost when I'm budgeting. I'm looking at how much it might cost me, right? So we talked about bottled water, we talked about food. So right there, almost any place I've been on the lower end of things, it's probably $10 a day to eat on the lower end. And then maybe add another $2 or $3 for water. Even though water is typically maybe um anywhere from 50 cents to $1 for a bottle. But the challenge is that when you go places that's really hot, you may need multiple bottles. And then you also need water to brush your teeth with. And you also need water if you're like rinsing off your fruits and vegetables, before you prepare them or something. You got to factor that in. That's why I say about $2 or $3 extra for water. So per day, let's just on a bare bones, I need at least $12, right? Then I need a place to stay. So now if I'm staying in a hostel, in some places I can find a hostel for $10 or $15 a night to have a bed in a room. I have done it a few times where I have been in a hostel where the room had like 40 beds. I will not do that again. It's a team too much. Like I guess that must be what it's like to be in jail. I haven't known that, and I don't want to know it again. So I typically try to find something that's no more than 6 beds, 8 max, if I can. But I typically prefer something that's like 4 beds. So if I can get that under $20, then usually that's okay for me. And some places I can even get a hotel room, like in Vietnam or in Thailand, you can get a hotel room for like $25, and so you can have it solo dolo, which is the way I love it too. Okay, so if you factor in, I'm already at $13 for the water and the food, and then another $20 for some place to stay. We're already at 33. Now, look at what kind of activities you want to do and how you're going to be able to get to those activities. So maybe you're going to do like a walking tour of a city. You're in the city center and you can do a walking tour. You don't have to factor in like that much transportation. But because of my chronic illness, I typically, even if I don't plan to take a taxi to where I'm going or take public transportation to where I'm going, I may need it coming back depending on how I'm feeling. So I always factor in public transportation or taxi costs back to where I'm going to be. So I try to, put that in there. So we were at like $38. So let's add another $12 for transportation. We were at 50, and then whatever the activities might cost. And then if you want to buy some souvenirs, so maybe let's say that's another $25. So right there, we're at $75. Now, is this going to be an everyday expense? Some of them are. Some of the, some days you're going to spend that much. Some days you might even spend a little bit more. But there are going to be days where you don't spend like much of nothing. I like those days. And I always try to include more of those days in my travel than the $75 days, because clearly you gotta $75, even though it's not a lot for maybe what we expect in the US, but other travelers, that could be a little bit on the high end side of things. So I would say budget accordingly. Now there are people who feel like I have a friend, I'm just gonna say T, She knows she is. But they will not, absolutely will not stay in a basic hotel. Like, there's no way. Like, she's trying to do, 3.5 star and better kind of situation. And there are places like Malaysia or Thailand or Cambodia, some places I've been in Southeast Asia, particularly, that you can get like higher end accommodations. Vietnam, Thailand, I think I said that's right. But anyway, you can get higher end accommodation for $50 to $100, and for her, like that's great, you know, great. She, that's what she wants. So, and if you can put it in your budget, that's how you roll, and fine. Me, who travels slowly and longer, I'm not necessarily worrying about, all of the extra amenities. You know what I'm saying? Like, I half the time never get to the sauna or the jacuzzi or the, I just don't. So the fact that it has it is nice, but it's not a deal breaker for me. If the room is clean and the bed is comfortable and the TV works, because I'm gonna want to watch some TV, although I can watch YouTube on my phone, I can. But if I have those things going for me, then I'm pretty much happy, and especially if it's in a good location. Like, I don't require all the bells and whistles, but let me say this: if they include breakfast, whether I eat it or I don't, it's a good thing for me, because I can factor in that that's money I can be spending somewhere else on something else, right? Or, like I said, extending my time. So, like I said, budget and travel is all relative, but you have to decide like what kind of traveler you are. If you are a budget traveler, then you trying to do it on the cheap, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that's usually how I do it. But I think as a seasoned traveler, I already know that there are places where I can afford to spend a little bit more, and places where I can afford to spend a little bit less. So for me, I'd rather not spend my money on having big luggage. You know what I'm saying? Having to check a bag. I'd rather not. If I can avoid it, then I'm not checking the bag. That's just the reality, because that money can be better spent other places, and I don't want to have to drag that big bag around. I learned that on my very first long-term travel trip when I was in Portugal. Like, pack light. I was dragging this 50-pound duffel around with me, and it was team too much. It was horrible on them cobblestone streets. Much as I love them, the mosaics tiles in Portugal, oh my gosh, it was just a lot. So for me, having a lighter bag, having less stuff is just helpful, because one thing that you need to know is that there's washing machines or laundry services everywhere. There's no need for you to be carrying so much stuff. And all the things that you think you're going to do, you're probably not going to do. That's just the reality. Especially for a person who travels long like I do. There's no need for me to pack the ball gown. I don't understand people who's running around with two pieces of luggage. Like, I'm not. I mean, a little backpack and your carry-on bag is sufficient. That's my opinion. So I don't spend money on those kinds of things. And if it's a short flight, I'm definitely willing to be a little bit more cramped, as opposed to a long flight where I know that I need that leg room. I'm 6 feet tall, well, almost. I'm very tall, so I need that extra space. So budget is all relative. It's all relative to your needs, wants, desires, how you plan to, how much time you plan to be traveling, and how you plan to, be luxury or express that part of yourself, right? It's kind of, I think it's a given, right? Budget is kind of up to you, but can you travel for less? Absolutely. Have I done higher end travel? Yes, I have had some experiences where I have spent too much money, staying in a resort or whatever, and enjoyed it. Not gonna lie, enjoyed it. But have I had extraordinary experiences that was on the cheap? Absolutely. 100% I have. So it all depends. But budget is something that you need to think about if you planning to do long-term travel or even short-term. Budget is budget. Okay. I'm just gonna say, don't get got. Don't go someplace. Oh, please, let me just say this before I even go any further. Don't go to anyone else's country and say these words. Oh my God, it's so cheap. Don't do it. Like, A, you're messing it up for all of us who are not trying to spend, the life savings. And B, it is disrespectful. The vast majority of people who are living in countries where the cost of living is less than ours are just getting by, just like the vast majority of people in the US are just getting by. So for you to say, oh, that's cheap, makes it sound like their life is less than, and it's not. I have met the happiest, the most joyful, the most generous people in places where they don't have as much material things, okay? Their focus is on friends and family and culture and tradition, and it may not be on skyscrapers. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference. So please, 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 if you go places, don't say it was cheap. Okay. Before I do anything else, let me get to the business of good old YouTube. If you haven't done so to this point, please like this video. It is very important that you like this video. This is how we let Mr. Algo, last name Rhythm, understand that this is information that's worth being put out there. Okay? And while you're doing that liking, please share it with somebody else who this information could be beneficial to. Okay? I've got all kind of quick travel tips on my channel, and I also have lots of travel wisdom to share. Okay? Let me be your travel sage. Okay? All right. Please take the time to comment below. The comment section is there for you. This is your opportunity to share some of your thoughts, some of your experiences, some of your questions with me. And if you share the question, I will definitely try to get back to you with an answer. That is what I do. Okay. So we already talked about liking, sharing, commenting. And by all means, if you haven't done so, subscribe. Okay? Subscriptions. Free 99. Please subscribe. Thank you. And then ask your friends and family to do the same. Because when they know, we grow. Okay? All right. So I said that if you make it to the end of the video, I'm going to tell you how I have been able to visit all these places when it just seems like I have $0, because I do. So the main way that I have been able to go many places is I have, and this may sound a little kooky, but I put it out into the universe. The desires of my heart. I speak it loud and speak it into existence that I absolutely want to go. I mean, I can recall saying, I really want to go to Asia. I had been to South America and I was like, I really want to go to Asia. And then I was like, I really want to go to Africa. That was like one of the like true desires of my heart. And I kind of had put it out there and things happened. And also by being open, because in me verbally expressing the desires of my heart to the world, to others, to the universe, for the universe to hear, and me expressing that, I also was moving myself in a direction of, I'm going to do the things that I can do in order to make that happen. Right? So I was open to the opportunity of volunteering. Now, volunteering allows me to maybe have a place to stay, maybe even meals provided or something. So being willing to volunteer was something that was really, if it was in my wheelhouse, because as a social worker, I know that a lot of good work that happens because people share their time, share their skills, their knowledge, their wisdom, their know-how, right? So I was very open to that. So being open to the possibilities has also allowed me to do this. When I tell you that the world, okay, and then this is the other thing. I'm going to say this. I haven't said it yet, but I don't know if you've heard of this book called The Alchemist. There's a book called The Alchemist by Coelho. Paulo Coelho, okay? And it basically talks about how life will rise up to meet you, how the universe is always conspiring for your greater good. And I truly, truly believe that. So it was like, I really want to, okay, like the most recent manifestation, I really wanted to be able to visit one of my god kids, JL, in Costa Rica. And yeah, I put it out there. So all I'm saying is things can happen when we allow ourselves to be open to the possibilities. People will, graciously offer you opportunities if you're willing to take them. So keep looking for them. That is the secret. That is the honest to goodness secret. I don't have, $1 million stored away somewhere. I don't. The opportunity presents itself, and then I make the most of the opportunity. That's my job. Okay? So I hope that this has been beneficial in some way to you, for you. And I hope that you will come back and see me again and share some of what I've said, how it's made you feel or made you think, or whatever the case is. Just I'm hoping you will. I'm trusting that you will. Okay? So yeah. Until the next time, budget accordingly. And that's your time, your energy, your goodness, your money. Budget accordingly. Ciao for now.